You're listening to the Career Plus Life Catch-Up, episode number 35. Welcome to the Career Plus Life Catch-Up, a show anchored in reality to help you create a balanced life where you enjoy both your work and your life, because you don't have to choose. I am your host, Cecile Ferry, a corporate executive turned coach and working mom. This is your place for insights, advice, and tools to optimize your career direction, balance, and confidence. I'm so glad you're here. Let's get into it. Hello, beautiful people. I hope you are doing well. Thank you for listening this week. So I wanted to tackle an implicit question that you may have had or might currently be having about your job. You might be having some thoughts about your job that it's not the right fit, or you don't like certain aspects of it, some things, maybe some people really bother you. Usually a bunch of negative thoughts that make you feel not so good about your job. Or even maybe all the way to the point of really disliking it and just wanting to quit. I know how this feels. You start racking your brain and you start analyzing what is working, what isn't, what you should do, what the options are. And often you start second guessing yourself and maybe even rationalizing, thinking maybe it's not that bad, or it's just fine for now, and that you have other priorities. Or maybe you're thinking, maybe it's just me, not the job. So today I want to unpack for you that question you might have. Is it me or is it the job? And it's going to be a bit of a honesty session, as I'm going to give it to you straight. Sorry, not sorry, my friends. I am not here for the accolades, but I am here to help you live your best Career Plus life. So sometimes this requires us to face the truth and admit what is really going on underneath the surface. And sometimes, as much as we like to blame the job and want to change, it's actually something to do with us. Even at times, that part is completely blind to us. So we keep blaming the jobs, we keep changing, and we keep being unhappy. Does it sound familiar? Hold on, because I'll show you why. Or maybe you're just listening to this and you're quite happily cruising in your job. So you might wonder, is there something here for me? Yes, my friend, I will give you some lenses to see yourself and your job that will be helpful no matter what happens in the future. So stay with me. So first, I'm going to talk about when it's really about the job. I'm going to start with the easy part, and then we're going to go and discuss when it's really about you, whether you realize it or not, or like it or not. And then I will take all of your minds further into a different territory when we don't think that way at all. So be ready for a bit of mind-blowing and some new perspectives. Are you ready? Let's dive into it. So when is it about the job? When is it about the circumstances of the job, the people in it, the pay, the task, the culture? I will let you in on the truth early. It's not that often. It's true in some cases, and I'm here to tell you. I will never be the one telling you to stay in a job no matter what. In other words, it's not always you. There are some real, tangible circumstances that can make it difficult to stay or to thrive in a job. Let me tell you which ones. First one, when you do a job that goes against everything you stand for. When your values, your ethics, your morality, maybe even your religion don't align, all the way to frankly clash with your job or with your industry. So you get those bad feelings because something isn't sitting right with you. And it's the right signal that something is off, because otherwise you wouldn't react that much. It happens sometimes that we don't know of that clash when we take the job initially, and it arises later on. Then we feel something in the pit of our stomach. And sometimes we can even feel ill coming into work. That's about the job. And no amount of status or money can make up for that. Number 2, when you are consistently being exposed to behaviors that have a deep negative impact on your well-being or self-esteem. I am talking here about narcissistic bosses or colleagues, bullies, physical or mental harassment, unacceptable behaviors such as public shaming, humiliation, enforcing long working hours, cyberbullying, poor working conditions affecting your physical or mental health, or toxic culture. Unfortunately, this happens and will continue to happen. The world isn't a perfectly rosy place, and some companies still treat their staff this way or allow for it to happen, which isn't any better. I am not saying quit the minute something bad happens. I am saying watch when something is consistently happening. By consistently, I mean every week, even sometimes every day. And when you raise it and the behavior persists, then and only then it's the job. Note that I said you need to raise it. Otherwise, it actually becomes about you for not raising it. It's about the job when you have done your best, you've done your part, and you got hurt, you got disrespected or violated in some shape or form. And that is never, ever acceptable. In terms of well-being, this could be when the job is dictating you to work a certain amount of overtime, loading you up with unrealistic tasks or deadlines, giving you the load of several people and ignoring your capacity. When basically they treat you more like a beast rather than a human being. I am not saying when there is a lot of work or a lot of pressure. That's category 2. That's about you and how you manage that. But here I'm talking about harsh impositions that are made on your time, on your energy, and on your freedom, where you have zero choice. So in those circumstances, absolutely recommend you leave the job. It's also about the job when you have moved into an industry that is changing and sometimes unexpectedly. We can't plan for that at times. Like, look what happened with the pandemic, and suddenly some industries completely sink. Or something we can plan more for is technology disrupting industries, sometimes entire business models and new skills being required, and even all the way to the type of task changing. So at times you can see that coming, but sometimes not so much. So it is about the job. It is also about the job when the expectations set out for you keep changing or are not aligned with what you can realistically deliver. When the goalpost moves all the time, or when there are no clear set expectations, in those cases it's not you. And then what happens quite often is that you start getting negative feedback about your performance in those great circumstances. Or it could be that you're not given the training or the tools to complete your job. No kidding, I have seen staff being put onto one software and given zero training or no logging details for days. So in those cases, you are set up to fail, and it is about the job. The last scenario when it may be about the job is when you have outgrown the job. So you simply need more, you need something else. Usually that is a conclusion that both you and your employer agree on. It's a fact rather than your opinion alone. And it's meant to be in a way. We all want to be outgrowing our jobs and be ready for more. So this one is actually really good and is a cause for celebration, to celebrate your growth and your hunger for more. So when you find yourself bored, unchallenged, feeling like you're taking over year after year doing the same things, it's time for a change because of the job. Nothing wrong with it. You could continue very safely and comfortably, but the job isn't going to fuel you anymore like you want to. It's a bit like a relationship coming to its term. No bad feelings, it's just the end of one chapter and it's time to move on. And that feels normally good, doesn't feel bad or uneasy. So in all those instances, 100% it's the job. And one way to validate this as well is to ask yourself, if someone else was in your shoes right now, would they experience the same? And try even if several people were in your shoes. If the answer is yes, 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 you know it's the job. Sometimes you even share the same experience with colleagues, and it validates that it's not just you. But be mindful of not colliding into what I call complaint groups about your job, because these groups tend to distort the reality with all the talking and the gossiping and the mental drama that gets added automatically when a number of people just start chatting together. In other words, the facts tend to get lost pretty quickly. So, in a nutshell, if it's the job, it's a fact and everybody will agree on it. Okay, now let's talk about when it's really about you. And this, my friend, to tell you the truth, is the vast majority of the cases. I'm not saying this to make you feel bad or to point the finger. It's just my personal experience and working with all my clients over the years. But of course, we are human beings. We bring our stuff to work. Our baggage, our self-limiting beliefs, our fears, our way of seeing the world. So don't beat yourself up. You are just being you and nothing has gone wrong here. You actually see in the next section how this is actually even a good news story for you. But for now, let me call out some situations where you might think it's the job, but spoiler alert, it's you. Remember, I'm your friend here. Here we go. When you are not coping with the workload and feeling stressed or overwhelmed. So this is your reaction, your feelings and your behaviors in reaction to the circumstances. The job has no remote control to make you feel stressed or overwhelmed. No, you take that over yourself. You have thoughts about your workload, your team, your boss and so on, and you get frustrated and angry maybe. And then either you freeze because of all that mental load or you run and race to do it all. So your role is to recognize your feelings, the stories about the workload, and the impact this has on you, and either change how you feel about the workload and change those stories, or take action to change the workload itself. Another scenario when it's about you is when you don't delegate or manage your staff properly. It's easy to blame others for not doing what you want them to do, or for not being how you want them to be. But have you been clear? Have you taken the time to explain exactly what you needed? Have you built a strong rapport based on trust? Have you given them the tools that they need? Do they have access to you? So let me bring it to you. It's not their fault. It's yours. And that's okay. You are still learning. And being a manager is one of the hardest things ever at work. Another case is when you show up to work not at your best because of what is going on in other parts of your life. It could be your health, your relationships, your family, your financial situation, whatever may be happening at the time. This affects your energy levels, your motivation, your productivity, and your creativity, your ability to think outside of the box. When this happens, you just tend to think a lot at work about those personal things, or you might come to work sick. So you show up as less of yourself and you don't achieve your best work. So this then makes you feel bad, which drains your energy, and the cycle continues. So the question is, are you showing up to the best of your ability, to the best of your energy, with a clean mind, not letting other things influence and ruling over your work life? It is also about you when you feel bypassed by promotions or not given career opportunities or not given salary increases. Have you applied and given it a red hot go? Have you got a development plan with your manager with career progression goals in it? Do you talk with your boss regularly about where you're going? Did you prepare and have a salary conversation at your last review? Too often we wish for things, But because it feels hard and we don't have the courage to ask or to take the next step, we don't take action. And then we get into blaming mode. That's a bit unfair to the job, isn't it? We sometimes already even conclude that this or that won't be possible before we even ask. Therefore, we won't ask, and then we just feel bad and we feel resentful. But what if you didn't even give your job a chance to give you what you want? And similarly, when you have expectations that you don't voice or expectations of yourself, which then don't get met, that can happen a lot in work. You can feel disappointed or crushed or simply frustrated because of those expectations that only lived in your head. And then what do? You project that bad feeling onto something. Your job, your colleagues, your boss. So when you don't speak up or when you make those secret arrangements with your job in your own head, you bring the bad feelings to yourself. That's the truth. And last but not least, when you have patterns of behaviors that are yours, that sometimes you aren't even aware of, but that keep playing up in your job, affecting your results and therefore your satisfaction. One way to know if that might be happening for you is to look at the patterns over time in your career history. What made you leave your jobs? What has happened maybe several times? Is there a pattern of behaviors? Those patterns are not unconscious, but they are so ingrained, so automatic that you barely see yourself doing it. And it usually takes something or someone external to point them at you. For instance, a 360-degree feedback survey, which can be quite a shock to you at times when you think you are focusing all your energy on delivering good work and getting all those great results. So let me give you some examples to help you understand some of those behaviors. Procrastinating, therefore doing less or running into last-minute troubles. Perfectionism, therefore getting frustrated when something isn't to your standards. Always having anxiety about what could go wrong. Not fully trusting yourself. Needing the approval of others, those people-pleasing tendencies. Trying to control other people or control things and events, having emotional outbursts. So these are examples, and there are many more, of things that are emotional and mental that manifest on the job that you may not fully realize at times. So see how these things, when unchecked and at play, can really impact your satisfaction in the job, and therefore they can make you feel like it's the job, when in fact it's those behaviors that we have. Those closing behaviors I actually talked about in the last episode, because of some emotions and belief underneath. As we are human, we show up to work with all that baggage, and it shapes up our reality. It's sometimes easy to see this for someone else that you work with, or for with younger staff members, but not so easy to spot about yourself. So pay special attention to constructive criticism or to patterns, because until you are aware of it, you can't change it, and you will keep going to the next job and the next job, expecting different results and getting the same experience. And at times, this is a complete blind spot for you, and it takes working with a coach and or doing some tests or some self-coaching exercises to become aware. So now on to part 3, where I want to take you further. So we have seen that at times it's the job, and more often than not, it's us and our humanness in the job. Firstly, let me say that even what is about the job can be linked back to us all of the time. Because we take the job, it's our responsibility to audit the company, to do our research and interview the people properly as well. We don't like the salary? We knew it when we signed. We didn't get a sense of the company culture? It's our fault. There are always ways to check on this. Has our industry changed? We could anticipate because we can keep ahead of technology and innovations, and we can keep building our skill set. The job clashes with our values and our ethics. We should have done the work of being clear on those and to check. I am not denying the fact that some workplaces, as I said in the first section, present conditions that make you opt out of a job. But have you done your best every single time to avoid it or to overcome the challenge? Maybe you took the job hoping for the best because that's all you had, or you were afraid not to find elsewhere. Maybe you were desperate. Maybe you didn't trust you could find something else. Maybe you felt some alarm bells, but you chose to not really listen to them and just go for all the other aspects that you knew the job had. At the end of the day, we are free human beings. Nobody has forced you into a job, so you can never 100% put the sole responsibility on the job. In other words, you always play a part in it. So the question becomes, in what way have I contributed to this? This is a way more powerful and productive question than why did I take this crappy job? Or why do I work in this crappy team? Why did I again end up in the wrong job? Think completely differently. Like, what is my share in this? How did I not see this coming? How did I not protect myself? How did I tolerate certain behaviors I shouldn't have? How did I hold myself back to fit in? Every job has its share of downsides. If you haven't already, go and listen to episode number 1 on the perfect job after this. It's the most listened episode to this entire podcast, still to this date. And it is the perfect segue to this episode. So when you ask yourself, is it me or is it the job? You focus on the negatives. But every job and its negatives has a gift inside for you. The question is, what is the gift? What is it teaching you? What have you become aware of? What will you take with you forever? What are you grateful for? And if you're not feeling the way you want in a job, the question becomes, why is it the case? There is a gift there waiting for you to unwrap. Unwrap those feelings and discover what sits underneath. Maybe it's a lifelong pattern you are not aware of. Maybe your soul is calling you to do something completely different. Maybe your values have shifted. Maybe something else is going on outside in your life that you're taking and projecting onto work. How we react to our job environment is always a map, an indication of what is going on with us. So maybe being frustrated or overwhelmed is the best thing because it tells you that you are in need of working something out here. You are ready to let go of all patterns that don't serve you, or you're being called to grow, to change something that isn't ideal and keeping you from your next step, or you're ready to align things that right now are not quite working for you. So all those negative feelings you have about the job are indicators pointing into a direction back at you with a message, with a positive, encouraging lesson. Will you look at it or will you blame the job and move on? At the end of the day, you and only you control your perceptions about the job. How is it that in the same role, another person might feel totally relaxed or might feel totally more stressed? Different person, different beliefs, different patterns. So it is about you ultimately. Your way of anticipating, your way of questioning yourself, your way of planning for what you need and for what is right for you at the time. We are all responsible for our jobs, and we can leave always, but not because we think it's the job. Because we know it's our perception and we own it. Because essentially we know it's not the job. Because we make a conscious decision not to choose the job and to take responsibility for it. So every time you're saying it's the job, you are giving your power away and you are in the wrong. It is disempowering, even though it feels quite good and much easier. But it will happen to you again because the job isn't generating your feelings. You are. So choose well where you want to be generating those feelings from. And you know what? There is no wrong job. I don't care where you choose to work. It's all neutral to me. What matters is how you feel in it. That's the secret to career happiness. All right, my friend. See, I told you we would go pretty far today. You may have to rewind and re-listen to this to fully get it. At the end of the day, it is not about just the job or you. It's not that binary concept. It is something much bigger that is centered around you and your power and your ability to make choices and adapt to your job environment. So let me leave you with the 3 key takeaways from this episode. Takeaway number 1. In some limited instances, it is about the job. These are facts everybody agree on, and it's best for you to move on. But even still here, look at how you could have prevented it or how you could protect yourself in the future from it. Takeaway number 2. In a lot of cases, it is about you. What you make the circumstances of your job mean to you. The emotional and mental baggage you bring into your job that shape your reality. Those behaviors that hold you back, sometimes unknowingly. Takeaway number 3. Ultimately, you always hold the power and need to see that all your feelings come from a place inside of you. This opens the door to thinking about what this job means for you, what it is revealing to you, what is the gift inside of it. Yes, it is about you, and you can turn this into an advantage by asking yourself the right questions. So it's all good, my friend, even if you think your job sucks right now. What is the gift inside for you? What is it pushing you towards? What will you change from now on? You have the capacity to do this work by yourself at your own pace before life has a way of showing you. What is calling forth inside of you right now? I see all our jobs, especially the not so good ones, as perfect steps taking us in the right direction we need to go. It's all part of the plan. It's what life is about. So instead of asking yourself, is it me or is it the job? Ask yourself, what is the right next step for me? Where am I at? And listen for the answer. It's always there deep inside of you if you ask and get quiet enough to listen. First, you need to remove the mind chatter about blame, whose fault it is, what has gone wrong here. You clear that up, and then you can hear your inner guidance underneath, which doesn't worry about these things. It just knows. Deep down, you know. You feel the answer. So go there, my friend, and listen. I am here for you. Have a beautiful week. I'll speak to you in the next episode. Take care. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to find out more information, you can visit my website at careercatchup.com. There you will find blog articles, free resources, a self-study course for your career direction, and ways to work with me. It's at careercatchup.com. I hope to continue to connect with you and support you. Talk to you soon.